Good morning, everyone. Today we have a new lesson about circulatory system, and this lesson talks about blood vessels and the composition of blood. Our objectives are understand how the structure of arteries, veins, and capillaries are related to their function, describe the composition of the blood, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and the plasma, understand the role of plasma in the transport of carbon dioxide, digested food, urea, hormones, and heat energy. And the last one, understand how adaptation of red blood cells make them suitable for the transport of oxygen, including shape, the absence of a nucleus, and the presence of hemoglobin. Let's start with blood vessels. In the human circulatory system, in the human circulatory system, there is blood, heart, and blood vessels. So, blood, so blood flows to almost every single cell in the body through a network of vessels. There are three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. They tend to carry oxygenated blood, but that's not a good definition because there are two arteries carry deoxygenated blood: pulmonary artery and umbilical artery. Capillaries carry blood through tissues and organs. These are tiny little blood vessels that carry the blood to individual cells. They have permeable walls which allow the molecules to diffuse out and in. Veins carry blood back to the heart from the organs. The blood in veins is under low pressure. It's not being pumped by the heart. But in arteries, the blood is under high pressure, so the wall must be able to stretch and recoil. Each type of blood vessel has a specific function, so the structure of a blood vessel is adapted to its function. Arteries. The blood pressure in arteries is higher than in other blood vessels. The pressure also varies as the heart contracts and relaxes, pushing pulses of blood into the arteries. How is the structure of arteries adapted to this pressure? We said each organ adapted to its function. For example, small intestine has a large surface area, villi, microvilli, lacteal, and so on. The same thing in blood vessels. The arteries have thick, elastic muscular wall stretch as blood arrives from the heart. We said the blood is under high pressure, so the walls must be able to stretch and recoil. The relaxation of the muscle helps to reduce variation in the blood pressure and make blood flow Venus. The blood pressure in Venus is lower than in the other blood vessels. How is the width of Venus adapted to help the blood return to the heart? The width of Venus allows blood to flow more easily along the vessels because they have a much big lumen, which is the hole in the middle of the blood vessels to allow the blood flow with it, not very much resistance. Venus also have valves along their length. How do valves help blood flow in Venus when muscular contract? When this pair of muscles contract, blood is pushed through the valve toward the heart. I talked about these muscles. How do valves help blood flow in Venus when muscular relax? When this pair of muscles relax, the valves close, stop the blood flowing back away from the heart. Capillaries. Substances are exchanged between blood and cells as capillaries pass through tissues. How was capillary structure adapted to the function of exchange? We said every organ um, has every organ adapted to its function, and also capillaries adapted to their function. The capillary wall is only one cell thick, so this will make the diffusion become more fast. This means that substances in the blood are very close to the cell, so the distance for diffusion is very short. Okay, now let's talk about the composition of a blood. A blood is a lot more than just a red liquid flowing through your arteries and veins. In fact, blood is a complex tissue. Okay, if you take a sample of blood and actually spin it around really fast in a machine called centrifuge. I talk about this machine, centrifuge. All the heavy thing fly out to the end and all the blood will actually separate into two clear layer. This layer 1 and this layer 2. The top layer is yellow liquid, it's called a plasma, and the bottom layer there is all actual blood cells here. The composition of a blood. Blood made of two layers or two parts, liquid part called plasma and solid part called blood cells. Plasma consists of 90% water And dissolved substances. Dissolved substances like glucose, vitamins, minerals, hormones, water, CO2, and urea. Solid part like RBCs or red blood cells or erythrocyte. Wait. RBCs or red blood cell or erythrocyte. And WBCs or white blood cells. And the platelet. Okay, RBCs or red blood cells or erythrocyte, uh, they have just only one function, oxygen transport. And WBCs or white blood cells, we use it for immunity, and the platelet for blood clotting. Let's talk about plasma. Plasma is the liquid which carries the components in the blood. For example, cells, platelets, amino acid, hormones, and so on. Plasma is important for the transport of carbon dioxide, digested food, urea, hormones, and heat energy. As we said, if we have a whole blood and we spin it around really fast in it, a machine called centrifuge, this will separate the blood into two layers, the yellow one called plasma. Okay, 55% of blood plasma and 45 blood cells. Okay, plasma, substance, and explanation. Carbon dioxide. Plasma carries away waste carbon dioxide from respiring cells to the lungs for exhalation. We already know that um, the cells respire aerobically, so produce CO2, and the blood takes CO2 from the cells to the lungs. Number two, digested food. Plasma carries digested food to cells for use in respiration or assimilation. Number three, urea, a waste substance made in liver as a result of the elimination of amino acid carried by the plasma to kidney for excretion in urine. So urea is waste product, and the blood transports urea to kidney to excretion in urine. Substance, the fourth substance, hormones. Hormones produced by endocrine glands around the body are secreted into the plasma to be carried to target organs. The stimulated changes in body conditions. We're going to talk about hormones in chapter 6. Heat energy. Plasma is mainly composed of water which has a high heat capacity, so is important for maintaining a balanced temperature in the body. So the blood helps to keep um, a balanced temperature in the body. What about red blood cells? Red blood cells transport oxygen around the body, from the lungs to cells which require it for aerobic respiration. We know that the cells use oxygen and glucose to produce energy by aerobic respiration, and the red blood cells transport oxygen from the lungs to cells. They have a specific structure features which make them suited to this task. Any task transports oxygen. Adaptation of a red blood cell. Number one, containing hemoglobin. Red blood cells contain large quantities of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein that combines with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin to allow the cell to transport oxygen to respire cells. This is red blood cell. Inside the red blood cell, there is hemoglobin. This hemoglobin combines with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, and when the red blood cell reaches to the cells, the hemoglobin unload oxygen. No nucleus. Red blood cells have no nucleus, so there is more space inside. There's more space inside the cells for hemoglobin, allowing more oxygen to be carried and transported to respiring cells. So there is no nucleus inside the red blood cells. Why? To allow more space for hemoglobin. Small and flexible. The red blood cells are small and flexible. Small and flexible, which allows the red blood cells to squeeze through narrow capillaries and the blood vessels without getting stuck. And the last one, biconcave shape. This is called biconcave shape. A flattened disc shape to increase the surface area to volume ratio for the most efficient rate of diffusion of oxygen into them. So biconcave shape to increase the surface area, so this will increase the diffusion rate. Okay, your homework question 6, page 82, and the question 3, page 131. Thank you.